Hello, wrenches, and welcome to the Wrench Turners Podcast, Coach's Corner edition. This series can be a rough breakdown of coaching sessions. It can be a walkthrough of productivity hacks or developing productivity things, which is kind of what today's going to be. It can also be self-improvement or guidance. It can be ideas, thoughts, and expressions and experiences through life that I've incurred over time as a mechanic and other positions I've held in the automotive industry for the last 20 years. The ultimate goal of the entirety of Wrench Turners content is to help mechanics all over the globe be happier, healthier, and more productive. And more specifically, it's to help you guys and girls be more happy on the shop floor through tidbits that are not technical related. So if you want to learn how to take injectors out of a Cummins diesel, I'm not the guy. If you want to learn how to change brakes on a Chevy Astra faster, I'm not that guy. If you want to learn how to diagnose using all kinds of different fantastical diagnostic equipment or 4-channel or more scopes, I'm not that guy. But if you want to know how to be a better technician that isn't related to those things, I am that guy. You want to find the holes in your day-to-day productivity, I'm that guy. If you want to be a better technician so that you can communicate better to your service advisors so you can get more jobs sold, I'm that guy. Today's Coach's Corner, we're going to talk about productivity. Specifically, I'm going to give you 3 things. I've talked about them in the past, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail. Let's get into it. So, talking about productivity, let's relate back to some coaching for some context first. So, every single technician that comes to me comes for one reason or another, but they typically come down to one thing: is how do I make more money? But the challenge is that there's always stressors in their life, whether from work or from home, that are affecting their productivity. When we get into these things on coaching calls, we try and get down to the root of the problem. There's always something that every single one of them do that is super, super simple that is affecting them greatly in their life, both personally and professionally. Now, I try to stay as far away from the personally stuff, that personal stuff. That's therapy. That's a professional therapist. If you are big D depressed, big A anxious, uh, chronic illness, any potential for addiction or any of those kinds of things, I am not a registered therapist. There are lots of them out there. Folks like Brian Wall. You need to listen to those folks. You need to go seek those folks out. You need help from those folks. They are professionals. That is what they do in terms of therapy. If your head's not right, you need to get it right because that determines so much of your day in so many different ways. You need to take care of yourself in that manner. Please do that. If you've got little things that are affecting your day to day at work, I'm your guy. Let's get into one that is a common problem amongst you folks. Okay, mechanics, no matter how much you balk at it, almost all of you are doing this. You are using your phone at work too much. When you use your phone, every single time you use your phone, even if it happens to be for an MPI or an MPVI that you're doing, you are losing focus of your day. Every time that you stop doing the task at hand, the hands-on car, and I've said this before, if your hands aren't on the car, you aren't making money. So if your hands are on a phone, the likelihood that you're making money is near zero. Okay? So get off your phone, first and foremost. If you have trouble getting off of your phone, I I tend to get these answers from you folks in coaching sessions. Well, I gotta have my phone on because. Up until about 15 years ago, cell phones weren't a really big thing or much of a thing at all. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, 25 years ago, there was office phones. There was barely a phone in the shop, let alone a cell phone. There's phone in the shop. If you happen to have a wife that's pregnant and you need to be available for that phone call, guess what? They'd call the shop. They would page you and you would go to the front or you pick up the phone, the shop phone. Those things still exist. You don't need your cell phone for that. If your spouse needs you, and I mean needs you, and this is another common issue that I have to deal with now in coaching. If your spouse needs you, they can call the shop. They do not need to text you, they do not need to call you. This instant gratification thing is hindering our productivity at work and it's hampering your paycheck. And if it's hampering your paycheck, it's also hampering you at home. If you are looking, if you're like me and I'm looking to buy a new motorcycle, that's $250 a month. Well, that $250 a month is quite easy to produce over the course of a month. Extra if I find some productivity things, right? Massage some things in my processes to maybe find 10 hours a month. Maybe it's 8 hours a month to come up with that 250 bucks. Okay? Put down the phone, put the phone away. So this the tip here is if you're one of those people who are really addicted to your phone and maybe you think I'm not addicted, but hey, simple thing. Mute your phone. Okay? Like these things they have like it's on there right now. It's on sleep. Okay? Put it on sleep mode or put it on work mode or put it on focus mode. So it doesn't buzz, it doesn't ring. And what you can do, let's say this is your baby step. You can put the emergency ring through, meaning if your spouse calls, it will still text or it will still ring. But here's the flip side to that. If your spouse is calling you at work every day, you haven't set boundaries, which is tip number 2. Okay, you need to set boundaries, and this applies personally and professionally. If your spouse is texting you, calling you, snapping you, sending you TikToks, whatever, throughout the day, and you're feeding into it, that's your own fault. You need to set boundaries. You need to come up with those boundaries for yourself. I'm at work. I'm at work between 8 and 5 every day. I have break at random times, so that's difficult. But I take lunch roughly from 12 to 1 p.m. If your spouse needs to text you, call you, whatever, do it then. Or more specifically, put a boundary as I will call you or I will text you every day at this time. Set the boundary, set the expectation. Because then you won't get the dings, you won't get the vibrations, you won't get all the little bits and pieces that's going to go out through your day. And then you can focus on the work. Set boundaries is number 2. Okay, I know it might be hard to listen to. Every time I say mute your notifications, every time I say put your phone down, every time I say things like that, I get harassed on TikTok. I get harassed on LinkedIn. It's like, oh, we can't do that, or no, we can do this, or it's such. You sound like one of them. It's like, you're right, but I'm both, right? I am one of you, and I am one of them. I've been in both sides of that coin, and I can tell you from both sides of the coin, mute your phone. Okay. Number 3, I said there was going to be 3. This is and number 3 is probably the most important one. Probably the most important and if you've been listening to Coach's Corner to date, you understand what I'm gonna say next is writing things down, journaling. But you don't have to go to the extent necessarily to journaling, and this is where baby steps start, okay? Notepad. Get a little notepad. Mm, Get a little notepad, but yay big. Okay, you can get them at the dollar store. You can get them at the grocery store. You can get them. Tesco's, at Asda, at Walgreens, wherever. Little notepad. Start writing things down. Get used to writing things down. Not the work order, not writing your notes about your work order necessarily to start, because that can get overwhelming. I don't want you to start that yet if you're just starting to write. But start writing down the steps between the steps. This is the really in this is I can't stress it enough, ladies and gentlemen. The steps between the steps. Writing down, you know, I got in at 9 o'clock today. I punched in, and my baymate talked to me for 10 minutes. Yes, it happened to be about the car they were working on, but it meant that I didn't start my day until 10 after 9. At 9:30, I went to take my break, but the coffee machine was not working. So I spent 10 minutes fixing it. And then took my break because I was fixing something for the shop. Okay, I can understand that to agree. I've been there, I've done that. But that means you're now out 25 minutes, not 15, or whatever the case may be. Write things like that down. Write down how many times your spouse texted you in a day. Write down how many times your baymate talks to you in a day. Write down how many times that you've been to the parts department. Write down how many times you go to the parts department and they don't have the right parts. Write down, you know, the special tool that you use is starting to wear a little bit. It's not broken, but let's say it's a very special socket for a very special job, but somehow in your shop, everybody's always using this tool. Maybe improperly, but maybe everybody's using this tool and it's starting to wear. Write that down, because that is a little thing that's going to come back where you can say, you're going to go through your notes. Ah, yeah, I want to show that to the service manager. This needs to get fixed. Right? Those are the kinds of things that are helpful to both you and to the service manager. Write stuff down. Okay? There was three things, right? Three things. So, first and foremost, your phone. My goodness, mute it. All right? First and foremost. Two, boundaries. You need to set them for your home life, about work life. And later on, we're going to talk about boundaries and we're going to go into super detail. Not today, but boundaries at work are also a thing. If your baymate's talking to you every day after you've been writing it down, if your baymate's been talking to you every day, you need to write that down and you need to start setting boundaries with them. Like, hey, I'm here, but we're here to work. I'm not here to chat. Okay. You got to start setting boundaries. And three, to summary, write everything down. All right. Hey, folks, thank you for listening to another Wrench Turners podcast, Coach's Corner edition. Those were 3 tips. All right. 3 tips to help improve your productivity during the day. They are quite simple. Okay. They are quite simple. So start utilizing this stuff and see your paycheck grow. Okay. Next, the podcast is growing quickly. Like I had no idea that had you told me in December, like we're not even, like we're about to eclipse 6 months here shortly, but in 6 months we got 2,500 listens. Like it's crazy. So thank you. And now that we're rolling into YouTube, which if you happen to be listening to this on Spotify or another streaming service, audio streaming service, I thank you for listening. There's also stuff on YouTube. So you might get a little bit more out of the visual stuff, seeing my face and my graying beard and my messy office up here that I share with my wife, then maybe you get a little bit more out of the visual as well. Head over there. I'm going to put the link in the Spotify and audio streaming services description so that maybe you can jump over there and maybe have a look and have a gander. And as always, the goal, regardless of whether you're listening or whether you're watching, the goal of podcast, the goal of Wrenchers podcast is to help you mechanics be happier, healthier, and more productive on the shop floor. If I'm not doing that, please give me some feedback. Tell me how I can help, how I can be better. The entire show is about to help you guys, right? It's to help you ladies out there be more successful in the shop, help you gentlemen be more successful in the shop. I need that feedback so I can be better for you guys. Lastly, a couple of things. Actually, there's a couple more things. Sorry. Uh, the reverse interview, Zach Perkle, posted a couple of weeks back. Make sure you watch it. I need some feedback on that new form of content. Mechanic Minutes doing well. The 10 Million Masters are doing well. The lads really enjoy doing it with me. I really appreciate them and you guys for watching it. So those two are doing well. Coach's Corner is performing just as well as the other three. That's awesome. But now that we've got this new piece that's not necessarily going to be regular, the reverse interview is a product. It's a physical product. So those of you watching out there that happen to have a service leader who is complaining about having not enough technicians on their shop floor, perhaps the reverse interview program can help them out in some way, shape, or form. So please let them know that it exists, that it's there. Show it to them. Show them the YouTube channel. Show them the Spotify channel. I'd really appreciative. And folks, thank you again for watching. Thank you again for listening. Negative pushes, positive pulls, and always clean your toys before you put them away.